ṣe ń lọ lórí Facebook live. Yeah, you've been traveling for a long time. You've been asleep some part of the way. You've not been looking some of the way. You've missed many signposts. It's time to start looking out of the windows. Where are you on your journey? When we negotiate something between ourselves and another, ourselves and with others, it is never just about that thing, product or service. It is about our will, willingness and worth, not just of that thing, but theirs and hers. So as a woman, have you ever wondered about your journey? Have you missed many signposts? When looking out of the window, what do you see? A world waiting for you to act, or one without a hope for your passion? I'll quickly go for a break and I'll be back with you in a bit. Yes, I'm so excited today. I'm always excited when I have wonderful women that, inspires me on this show with me. And a lot of time you would see that when they are here, I just feel like, asking and asking and asking. So it's going to be a lot of asking today. And today, if you listened to my opening, you noticed that I'm sure for those of you who are possibly or who have come across that, what I read, you would have caught me red-handed. You'd have known that at least the first two lines or the first two paragraphs of my intro were not really my own words. And I'm just giving a disclaimer that is something from our guest today. And I deliberately chose those two quotes from her because this is a woman. That gives you a feel of the kind of person we're going to be meeting today. So the person I have with me today on WinAction is Sumaya Sadiq Ojibara. She is a Nigerian African Australian Muslim. She is a counselor and a psychotherapist. She is also a life coach, mindfulness guide, a motivational speaker, mentor, social entrepreneur, a creative consultant, a creativity consultant, a poet, an award-winning writer and author of several books and various library works. She is the CEO and MD of Comstract. I hope I got that right. You're going to pronounce it correctly for me. A communication, counseling, and creativity firm in Australia, and managing director of her own private counseling practice called Due Counseling. Now, I'm going to bring in my darling sister. I've known her for long, although I can assure you we've never met one-on-one. But I know her so well. And that is just to show again the kind of person she is. Because if I tell you how I got to know her, then you would understand. I got to know this wonderful woman I'm having here with me today through my husband. And my husband described her to me in 2 words. He said, the first time he came home and he was going to talk about her, he came into the room and he said, Rashida, do you know, I'm working with a woman. I've met a lot of women, but this woman has 2 things that I admire. She has intelligence and she is righteous. And, you know, that those 2 words coming from my husband to me about another woman was something that actually quickly piqued my interest. And I wanted to meet her, but as God will have it, we never really had time to meet physically. But then the world is changing. There's a lot going on, the social media and all that. So I got to meet her on Facebook, and it's been a continuous and endless, evidence to what my husband actually said about this woman. Please join me. Let me welcome into the studio, and for all of us to actually be inspired by my darling sister Sumaya Sadiq Ajibara. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam to Lara Barakat. Oh my goodness, I could listen to you all day.
Yeah, so you can imagine how excited I am actually, because that statement from my husband came, I think it's almost 15 years ago, over 15 years ago, that he made that, statement to me. And, as God will have it, we've never been able to meet physically, but we've met on social media. And, I've had cause to listen to you severally because, you are someone that is out there. So I'm really, really, and this show, The Women in Action, is just exactly what it is. Women that are in action. And you have been in action, I don't know for how many number of years, and you've been inspiring. And I just want us to share some of these inspirational aspects of your life. So I'm going to start quickly by asking you, I introduced you as a Nigerian Australian, and I want us to travel in time. I want us to travel in time, and you tell us about yourself, a Nigerian and Australian. How did that journey start? Who is Sumaya?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor. Yeah. When you reached out to me, I thought, okay, winner woman, mashallah, I'll take that. I'll take that as a gift, and I ask Allah to accept our efforts. Yeah. And I've been an admirer of yours also from a distance, even though we haven't really interacted, and I've always loved your presence. I had cause to see you in action. A woman in action at a conference we attended. Oh, how fascinating. So thank you for having me, and for saying all those lovely things.
Thank you for that kind words. Coming from you, I feel highly honored. So yeah.
All right. So Nigerian and Australian. I don't know how long we have on the show, but as I've said before in other interviews, it's quite a lot to try and condense in the short time. However, I can say that Allah planned this journey much earlier than we even realized it before we started coming. And everything we did was always headed towards a certain direction. As we know that Allah is the best of planners. So my husband came to study here, and we did decide that we wanted to come over from Nigeria to explore more opportunities, as I like to say, because sometimes when people meet you, there's always an assumption that there was no choice. And I do know that we have challenges in Nigeria for sure. But at the same time, I like to think that by Allah's will, the woman that I am today couldn't have even been half of this person if I wasn't born to parents who brought me up in a place that had certain values. And so from the moment that I could discern to the time I went to school, I went to a boarding school, and some of the skills that I formed at that time, and, went to university and then started working before I then came here, they've always been about different periods of my life. that then brought me to this point. So if I think about my my youthful days, or rather when I was younger, I've told this story here and there, but I remember that my mom told me that when they'd come and visit her for my immediate sister, I'm 11 months older, I'm the one they would carry because I was a nice, friendly, cute baby.
Baby,
While she
yeah.
would cry. But that's
Alhamdulillah.
what they told me, so I'm not going to fight them over that.
Yeah, I like that. Good. Always killing the good things.
I know,
Because I
alhamdulillah.
like giving to you freely, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
But then what I realized is that, alhamdulillah, so I was a very sort of mild kind of baby that was sort of friendly. But when I went to secondary, as I grew older and I went to boarding school, part of what started to happen to me in terms of my identity as it started to form was I was just not a conformist in that sense. I was always sort of on the fringes. And part of what I also realized at the time, later on, as I grew older and I could go back and understand some of the choices I made, was that I've always been very fascinated by people. I'm also very keen on helping people discover themselves. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just being me. And the other thing that I knew that got me to start thinking about identity was sort of the person I was. And I've written bits and pieces of this here and there. I'm a tall person. I was using glasses, this and that. And a lot of those things that would happen
You
to me
said
at
you were
that,
using glasses. Don't you use it again?
I still use glasses.
I'm still using it. That's good. Good.
But the glasses of that time was a different kind of something else.
I know, like
So
the geeky kind of glasses.
Very,
Everybody
very,
says, yeah, I can imagine.
That's the one we used to call the bottom of the Coke bottle, like the glass.
I know.
So at that time, part of what I started to realize was that I was going to stand out in some way or the other. So, but obviously when I was younger, it was to try and belong, and yet I just couldn't. Everything about what I would do would always make me sort of stand out, either because of my height or some of the trouble I got into, which wasn't a lot, but here and there I would get into trouble. Yeah. So anyway, and then after that, went to university, had a pathway in terms of becoming more conscious of Islam, which happened more towards my final year in the university. And that was a very significant turning in my life as well, because that was when one of the central part of my identity as a Muslim emerged too. And a lot of the choices I made at that time, I actually chose Islam, mashallah, tabarakallah, as opposed to what I was given by being born into a home. And alhamdulillah, I'm blessed with amazing parents who really gave us a lot of opportunities to, get a sense of who we were, strive in life, and always turn to God as our guide. And then after that, yes. And then after that, I worked in the media for a short while, and then I started a firm, a consultancy firm. That was another significant part of my life, because that was when I got into the whole work of personal development, helping people really get a sense of who they were, learning strategies. That's a huge, huge story on its own. But what it gave me was just a sense of identity before we then started heading to Australia. So that's sort of it.
Yeah, I know it's a long story, but there is something you said that I'm really interested in, because that's something that I was going to ask you next, but then you mentioned it. You are a trained therapist and a counselor, and you talked about helping people, and I just want to know the story behind that. How did you get to that point?
I think I always found myself in those sort of capacities in some way or the other. So again, this is a story because it was a very significant one. But I remember when we left secondary school, we had a ritual that we would do then, where you will have a book. When we were parting, finally, you would take the book around to people and they would write their thoughts and
what they think about you.
Yes.
Yeah, we all think.
I got pretty excited just to read mine, and everything. Every time I read, all my friends said was that we love you. You're just an amazing person, this and that. But you need to mind your own business. You don't need to take other people's problems on your head.
So you were always minding other people's business. Good. Now you are here to mind our business, the women business, because yeah, it's a good thing. So go on. So I want to hear the story.
Yeah, but I didn't know what that meant. I just thought they told me that the language we use at that time is that you're poke nosing, you're putting your nose in other people's business. But what I realized was that actually one of the things I found very important to me was people's ability to see themselves and to see that they have capacity for greatness. And I've always been fascinated by that. So all the work that I would do, even right from Nigeria, I just mentioned that there was some work I got with my consultancy firm before I left. And that sort of launched me into that space where I had to work with a group of people. They got some consultants at the time, and my firm was one of the people. And at that time, Nigeria was trying to disengage civil servants from service. Most of them weren't notified, and they were quite a large number. And so they brought some of us in, and we created like a 4-part sort of personal development work with them. That was very, very transformative for me, because I had to work with people across board, lower cadre, leadership cadre people. And I was the first person that would go on. Imagine these are people that have been disengaged. The government was going to give them money, but they were in shock. There was a lot of fear. They were resentful. There was just a whole lot that was wrong. And here I was, some young person, not that young, but some young person in hijab coming to stand in front of them and telling them what. So I always had to break the ice. I always had to gently help them with empathy and compassion, bring them into that place where they would get settled. And that sort of gave me an idea of, oh, wow, when you treat people as people, you see them, you hear them, you honor them, and then you teach them how to look at themselves through your own eyes. They will literally rise from where they've fallen, and they will possibly and most likely thrive. And that was one that was very significant for me.
Wow. Now, in your experience, because this show is about inspiring people, it's about actually getting people to take action. You are a woman who have, taken actions, who have done things, and in traveling that route, you must have learned one or two things about people and the kind of issues they face when it comes to, getting up and doing something or getting on with it. Can you share with us, in your experience, what are those things that you would say in your experience is mostly the stumbling block for people to, take action and get on with it?
A lot of it is centered on lack of self-awareness or enough of it. So that's one part. And in talking about that, that is quite multifaceted. But the part that, I hope we can really focus on today, and if there's one thing that I'm always very particular about, not just one, I talk about any opportunity that I'm given. And if I'm blessed to have a platform to speak and I have the voice to speak, I'm always about 3 things: intention, impact, and inspiration. And so for me, if you don't know some of the intentions for why you were created, how you can go through the world, what kind of impact you can have, and how you can possibly be inspiration to other people, then you're just going to go through life missing out on so much, and the world will miss out a lot because we're not able to gain from you. And so self-awareness is key. Yes, self-awareness is very key. You can't use what you don't even know you have. And if you don't know, and if you do know what you have and you're not using it, then that's another layer of resistance that you haven't engaged with, which is why you might now say, okay, I know that I'm, a great, maybe I'm good with my hands. I'm a fast learner. People like me. They think I'm friendly, I'm gentle, I'm a peacemaker. All of those sort of beautiful things that you can use to qualify yourself. And then what?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, and then what? But if
What have you done with? What are you?
What are you going to do with it? So that's the second part of it. Second part of it is the lack of belief. So you might see those things in yourself, but you don't have enough belief to then say, well, I can make a difference in my life and the life of other people. Because you think, oh, yeah, and your language will reveal you. Because when people ask you, what have you done? Oh, it's just one small thing. Oh, it's just. Even the just, when people say, oh, it's just, that means you're minimizing your capacities and some of the most
undermining
amazing
yourself.
Yes, yes. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the process of unlearning, relearning, and learning. That's very key. So many of us are brought up in cultures and traditions and societies where it can be very directive. It's very hierarchical and it's very directive. We're not allowed to think for ourselves. We're not allowed to have our own sense of autonomy, agency, and self-determination. And because of it, we tend to wait for permission. That's one thing. The other thing is when you're now taught to be one way and you grow up into some spaces and you start to see some of what you're capable of, you don't take those opportunities because you're stuck in your ways. You're saying, oh, this is the only way to do it. So the third thing is to unlearn those things, to relearn some things, and then to learn some things. That has to be continuous because we are creatures of habit. And especially when we get old up to a certain point, it's very difficult to change. But once you make the intention and you consciously unlearn. So for example, maybe there's a way you were parented, and the way you were parented is that every statement is followed with an abusive word, a verbal attack. Oh, look at you. Oh, wash the plate. You did so, and so. Go and do that. Look at you. Now, if you want to unlearn that, the first thing is what?
Unlearn that.
Yes, if you want to unlearn, the first thing is to learn self-awareness. Oh my goodness. When I speak to my child,
know something about yourself.
Exactly. I usually follow every statement with a word of abuse. Next time I speak to my child, I'm going to hold myself back. I'm going to stop myself. And that's your unlearning.
That is unlearning it.
That's unlearning. Now, when you're relearning, you've unlearned something. So what are you going to replace in that space? You might then say, oh, have you washed the dishes? No. And you see the child already shrinking and fearful. What might you relearn in that place? Another language, another way of speaking. You might then say to your come. Wash the plates. When you finish, come and do XYZ. You've changed the tone of your voice. You have softened the language you've used and you've changed it. Now, where's the learning part?
Wow.
Yeah. The learning part is where you now say, okay, I don't really know how to be in these spaces with my son or my daughter in the world that they're in. Let me go and learn some of their language so that I can communicate better with them. That's you learning. So that's an example.
Wow. To be honest, I think this just leads me naturally on to the next thing I want to talk to you about. You are a poet. You are an author. It means that you actually have this very, very great wealth of words. And even within the space of a few minutes that you just spoke with us about how to learn about ourselves and all that, I'm taking, a number of words: self-awareness, learning and unlearning, impact, intention, inspiration, beliefs, a lot of these things. Now, I would like to ask you, I read two of your quotes, actually. I'm sure when you heard me reading, you would have, oh, no, she's going to copy me. I did that deliberately. Now, there is something in one of those things that you wrote that really, I want us to talk about. You're talking about traveling, and that is also the title of your book, traveling in time. And you're always talking about traveling, and you talk about missing signposts, and you talk about looking out of the windows. Now, how does this, all these things that you've described in your quote, how do they relate to your own life as as an individual?
Okay, that's a really good question. Traveling is something I'm very fascinated by, the concept of traveling. You're right. When I heard you reading and then I heard you making reference, I said, this is that. She's so good. I love the way you read.
Yeah, she knows how to do good giraffing technique.
That one is just okay too, So with my own understanding is that we are all on a journey anyway, no one is getting out of here alive. Everyone has come from God and we're returning to him. So we're all travelers. So I'm very fascinated by that concept. And when you're a traveler, there's so many parts to that. There's a fact that the way that you live in the world with a consciousness that you're a traveler means that every stop you get in life is not a permanent stop. It means that you have to keep going. And oftentimes, just related to what you read, we just keep going. We're not looking around us. We're not traveling with our sight and our senses. We're just going. You've got a dream in mind, you've got a goal, you just keep going. You're not having a look. You're not looking back. How far have I come? Where have I reached? Where am I headed? Who's with me? What do I need to do? Do I need to stop and take a break as you would on a journey? And if I relate that to myself, again, going back to the whole concept of self-awareness, I'm a very, very reflective person. It's one of the things that, mashallah, tabarakallah, I score very highly on. And you would see some of that reflection in some of the depths of what I write at times. I'm like, okay, what am I saying there? Because the truth is, the way Allah made us to be thinking, feeling, sensing creatures. Well, that's why we're not animals. And all over the Quran, Allah will say, do you not think? Do you not reflect? Do you not ponder? Everywhere in the Quran. And there's so much of what Allah will say. Allah will say to you that, look around you. Have another look. Turn your eyes around. Then take another look. Do you not see us create this? Do you not see that? And everything
reflecting.
Yes. So for me, at every point in my life, before I became more self-aware, before I, mashallah, tabarakallah, started that journey of training to become a counselor and psychotherapist, which was very transformative for me, I have to say. Yes, I was already doing a lot of work in the space, talking about self-awareness. I would work with young people, women, mostly back in Nigeria. And as soon as we would do any kind of workshop on self-awareness, immediately they will start to notice shifts within themselves. So much so that we would have some husbands lurking around by the window to see what it was we were doing, because as soon as the wives came back home, they're like, where did
they become a changed person.
So for me, at every point in my life, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, there was another quote of yours, and you were talking about people around us. You were talking about husbands. You were talking, but I had a reflection when I read this, but I'll be very happy to hear your state of mind or what you're thinking about when you wrote this. You said, we negotiate something between ourselves and another, ourselves and with others. It is never just about the things, product or service. It is about our willingness and worth, not just of that thing, but theirs and ours. I know I have my own reflection on it, because you're talking about theirs, you are talking about ours, you are talking about, ourselves, the service, product, and all that. What was in your mind when you were writing this?
So I'm huge on language, as you would have seen, and language. I mean, to state the obvious. So I play
Yeah.
around with words a lot.
Yeah.
Now, the key word there, the
Words.
common denominator, is the word negotiate.
Mm.
The language of
Negotiate.
negotiation is used in business deals. But can you imagine when we start understanding the concept of negotiating in our interpersonal relationships? We think that maybe when we say we're negotiating with our children, that means we're handing over power to them. No, it's not that. We always must negotiate. And somehow, when we don't negotiate, is either we're negating our worth or theirs. And when we negotiate, the way we negotiate also matters, because that might be, do we want to wear down their wheel? Or are we trying to create a win-win? Are we negotiating so that we recognize both of our worth as well as the will that each person has brought into the space? That's why the word negotiation is very important. And that can be in any relationship, husband and wife, parents and child, colleague and colleague, boss and employer and employee. So if you think about it, when we're negotiating, if you came to me and you said, you wanted me to do some work for you, and you told me, and I told you that, well, this is how much I charge, and you cut that charge into half because you think that and you know how our people can be at times,
very strong negotiating. Nigerian women especially, they're very good at that.
Exactly. But you know what can happen at times, especially when you put it in the context of the person's situation. You might be dishonoring the person. Rather than, if you don't have the money to buy that thing, for example, you can say to them, I'm sorry. I know you're worth more than this, but this is what I have. You've honored both of you.
Both of you.
Yes.
Wow.
But if you say to me, and that means you're recognizing both of our worth.
Worth.
Yes.
Wow.
But if you say to me,
wow, I actually wish we have a whole lot of time. And there is still my favorite, segment of this show. I will not allow any guests to go without, taking part in that segment of the show. So we're going to go to that. And this is just to tell those who have joined us on the as audience that you would have the opportunity for about maybe 5 minutes or 10 if you want to say anything or you want to ask my darling sister Sumaya any question briefly about herself or the kind of things she does. But the most important thing right now, I'm just I'm just like I feel I'm inspired even to want to do more of this, to have more women to hear their story, to see how they're negotiating, in their lives, with what you have just said. So I'm just going to take a very short break and then I'll be back with you and we'll go to my favorite segment. Yeah. The Peg Your Action segment. Peg your achievement. Yes, and I know I'm dealing with a pro with words. So, but even then, I'll still give my rule. The rule of this segment is that you can only use a word or a phrase, and it's about pegging your achievement so far. I'm not saying you've achieved everything. You've achieved a lot, and there is still a lot, inshallah, that you're going to achieve, and that you're going to, make others achieve, inshallah. But so far, I want you to tell me the most painful thing, in your process of getting to where you are today, what you think is the most empowering thing for you, and then what you think is the best thing you have gained, in this travel. And that reminds me, that's about you. We were not able to even talk about your book at all. About the book you've authored, but maybe some other times we'll do that. But you've talked about the travel of time. So in those time in your life, what is the most painful thing, the most empowering thing, and then the most achievement, your gain, what you think is your gain? Now you would say to me in one word or you can use a phrase, but in your case, I don't know if I should make it just one word, but it's fine. Whatever you choose to do. So you say it to me, and yes, we'll try to write it for others to see.
Okay. This one is a difficult one because you've asked a writer to summarize yes, our thoughts and dreams in words. Okay. Let me start with the most painful.
Yeah.
The most painful, I would have to say, is this is hard though.
Yeah, am I putting the word meal on the spot? Don't worry, it will come, I know.
Okay. All right, let me move them around. Maybe I should start with you said the most empowering.
Yeah, the most empowering.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Okay. So that's the most empowering. What was the other one you asked?
Gain. What you think it's the best thing you have achieved. Your gain.
That I've achieved.
Yeah. That you think is it might not be an achievement. It might be something that you're just generally happy about. That when you look back and you look at yourself, you say, yes, this is something that I have gained. That has, that I'm always happy about.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness again. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The most painful will be I would say maybe a loss of identity.
Loss of identity.
That's the only way I can peg it, just because there would have been one or some instances where I have lost my sense of identity by compensating or compromising in some way.
What I normally do when we get to this point is I would like you to, share it, in very brief description with us. Any particular maybe occurrence or something that you feel comfortable, to share with us. So in terms of the pain, loss of identity, what is that about?
It's this is a very, very big thing, but I'll just try and use an example. So when I first came to Australia and I was looking for work, I would say that was a painful part. I remember, just really quickly, I know we're running out of time. I remember that I brought clothes. I mean, I've only ever told this story maybe somewhere. I brought clothes that I already decided I was going to wear to work. And even though I kept being rejected time and time and time again, I wouldn't let go of those clothes, because I think that was the only way I could hold on to some of my sense of self and the fact that I was worthy, because I kept getting knocked back. I would get interviewed. I would think I was going to get the job, and they would say to me, you're
I
not.
mean, lots of us can relate with that. It's, it can be very, very depressing.
Yes, I do remember that there would be sense of loss of that identity before I became more self-aware. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, so the self-awareness is the empowerment and is also the gain. Now,
yes,
can you share with us any personal experience of you becoming self-aware, of you realizing, this is who I am, and that has, made you to always look back and be happy?
Okay. So when I started training to be a counselor, and I realized that I was one of very few people that were there. I was in, at least the school I was in, I was the only other person that was there that was just Black and a Muslim. And so every time that those
and also
parts,
very tall.
yes, I know that part.
That part.
Exactly. So every time I would engage with the materials, I would have discussions with the educator, I would face some overt and subtle kind of racism and discrimination. It made me go more back into myself and to know what it was I was doing and why I was doing it and what it was that I had. So I would give that as an example. And I know I've had situations where when I was asked to present some assessments and I made cases for myself based on my sense of knowledge about myself, my culture, my religion, my way of being. Those are the things that I actually, those were the subjects that I would get distinctions in, but I was able to speak for myself. So I would say yes. The more I did that, the more empowered I became, because there was a sense of self, and it wasn't about being apologetic or having to explain myself over and over again. I could stand within my own power as given to me
and
by
be
God,
able to,
and be
yeah.
able to do that.
Yeah. We've really, I said it was going to be 30 minutes. Obviously, we spent more than that. And I'm always very happy, to have this discussion. So I'm just going to give 5 minutes or thereabout to any member of the participants who is interested in asking Sister Sumaya any question. If you just raise your hand, I will allow you to talk and you can ask your question. Otherwise, I would... so if anybody wants to say anything, perhaps you want to share some experience also, or you just want to, ask Sister Sumaya. She's a counselor. She's a life coach. She's so although we don't have so much time here for her to go through any kind of serious question with anybody. But if you have anything you want to ask her, or you want to just make a comment, please raise your hands. Press the hand raise button on your phone, and I would allow you. Okay, but if we do not have anyone, I just want to tell us. Okay, I've got one hand up. Alaja Adeyeye.
Yes, Salaam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Rahmatullah barakatuh. I just want to say I appreciated our lecturer, her topic this morning. So if somebody achieves something, you may not even know what to be the outcome. But for the mere fact that God gives you that gift, you just continue, to continue to put in all your efforts. At the end of the day, so you will now see that everything went on fine, even though you might have faced, some challenges. So once you know where you are going and what you want to do, and God Almighty will be with individual of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's still about self-awareness, that my sister, emphasized on greatly. Now, I'll just ask again, your book, we've not really been able to touch on that and look at what you have there. That's Time Travel in My Words. If we wanted to get a copy, how can we get it?
I actually have a copy here. I might as well just show you.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so this is the book, Time Travel in My World. So over in the UK, we've got Sister Hidayah. She's got the information. I can always send them to you so people can ask and get them in the UK. It's on Amazon here in Australia, but I'm just about to take it off Amazon and take it to my website. So inshallah, by next week, it should be available on my website. And you can always reach me via social media, and I can organize how they can get to you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think I'm going to just ask you again for a quote, anything from your book, just to inspire us before I let you go. And then we take some other segment of the show.
All right. Well, in terms of quotes, I think that since we've been talking about a lot about self-awareness, I can just mention, I just open the page and I'm going to read it.
Good, that's what I want.
So this one actually says, when I stand before you, when I ask, call, speak, say this is me, you strive, you try to see, hear, feel, care. You do what you can to do right by me, to do right the way you know right, even when it is sometimes, many times, not right for me. When I am me, when I start to see me, to hear, feel, when I start to explore, to discover many more of me, when I start to treat me with dignity, respect, kindness, tenderness, care, love, I start to challenge me to step on my pedestal, step into my potentials, my power, my authentic place. Can I read one more paragraph?
Wow. My authentic place. We've got someone raising their hands. I think I'll just allow just that one person, and then
Okay.
what you've said. It's all about what we've said today. The pain,
exactly, and that's what I hope.
The loss of identity. You don't want to lose your identity, and you want to be always self-aware. You want to always discover yourself and be able to not just discover, because there was something you said. You said it's one thing to be self-aware. It's another thing to actually do something about what you know about yourself. And this is what this show is about. It's about do, action. So I will allow Pixel XL to quickly ask the question or make their contribution. Somebody is showing us Pixel XL. Yeah. There is no name.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Please speak up so that we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me better now?
No, better.
Yeah, it's Sister Railu. Salamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
MashaAllah. Wallahi, may Allah bless you. May Allah bless you. May Allah increase you in knowledge. I was on YouTube listening, so I've been trying to say something, but I couldn't do that on YouTube, so I had to quickly switch back and have to just say something. I mean, it's what, like, when someone is speaking and you're like, my God, this person's actually speaking my mind, and you can articulate something, and you get somebody who actually really just laid down the way you've always
has the words.
Exactly, may Allah bless you with words. I mean, you're blessed already, and I don't know what to say. The thing about self-awareness, I cannot overemphasize it. When you were, Sister Rashida was asking, what was your best achievement? And the thing that you were doing, and you were like, I'm like, that is exactly what I'm going to say. I can, and I was just thinking, maybe somewhere you're going to find me because I'm going to listen to this over and over again. Every single word for me was key. And I'm going to just frame them the way I do with my artwork. And you see me put them there. Don't say I've stolen, of course I'm going to, because these are words of gold. And I think a lot more people need to hear this. I'm not someone that really enjoy talk show, but this was beautiful. This was beautiful. May Allah bless you. May Allah increase you.
It's so nice to hear your voice. I can't stop smiling.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Tabarakallah. Yeah. What you do. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And yes, before we go on quickly, just to let you know about some of the things that I always tell you about, advertising. So the informal communication services, just to tell you about some of the programs we have, there is ACOCA. So for those of you who have been part of the what's it called? The tester session of ACOCA, I'm sure you can actually tell us just how good it has been and how much you have learned from that. So ACOCA session is going to start fully by next week, Monday. So if you want to be part of it, if you want to learn some Yoruba words, or you just want to brush up your Yoruba speaking ability and writing ability, or you just want your children, for those of us who are in the diaspora, and gradually our children are losing their language. And when you're losing your language, it's part of the first step to losing your identity, what we've been talking about greatly today, self-awareness and all that. So language is very key. So while it's good wherever we are, it's home to us, but it's always good to have just that additional awareness. So learn your language, learn Yoruba language. And even if you're not Yoruba, you are any whatever your tribe or your language is, it's always good to have an additional language. It will always be a plus plus. So Akoka with Wale Hassan is something that I would recommend to any of you. So look out for it. It's very, very, very affordable, and it's online. You're not required to go anywhere. And we are working with people's, time. So aside from that, there is the family folk tales, another about self-awareness. I grew up listening to folk tales, and I'm sharing my, some of those stories that I've heard. I'm sharing it with you, with your children. Yeah, it's in English, so don't worry, although most of it, the songs are in Yoruba language, but I'm telling the stories in English. And just watch out for it. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, Family Folk Tales. And I've got one coming out very, very soon. It's just in the cooler, and it will be out soon. And there is Novel Room with Yinka. Now, Novel Room with Yinka is going to start soon, and that is about reading and reading and reading. Today, we've been talking to an author. We've talked about the traveling in time. That might be a book that we get to read on Novel Room with Yinka. If you want to find out more information about that, it's online, and you can always contact me to get information. There is Shewa. Everybody knows about Shewa. Please join us, Shewa Scoop and all the things. And there is the FARS event. We all know what is happening in the world right now. We all know what is happening in the world. We all need to stay at home. So a lot of things are going online. So if you have this event that you want to be nicely organized, well professionally done, and with people actually enjoying themselves, then you need to contact my sister Khalila Alabi for FARS events. She's and I'm working with her, we will just make your event, out of this world. So that is me done with all the advertisement, personal paid announcement, or maybe paid announcement this time around. So yeah, so I'm so happy to have you, Sister Sumaya. And there is something I just want everybody listening to me, either on Facebook, YouTube, watching us, being with us here in the Zoom session, to take away from this. Today is all about self-awareness. It's about not losing your identity. It's about you discovering those things that makes you you and makes you unique. It's about not just learning about those things. It's actually about you taking actions with them, with the knowledge. It is about you learning. It is about you unlearning, and it is about you relearning. So these are the three things that my sister, I've said, aside from pegging our achievement to loss of identity, self-awareness. So please, I've got hands on, but unfortunately, I would not be able to. Somebody said, how do you increase your level of self-awareness, or tips on that, please? I'm not sure if I should allow Sister Sumaya to just say something in 5 minutes, and then you can just put your contact, maybe email address or something, and people can, email you personally for additional information and all that. So I'll just give you 5 minutes. Anyway, I already told you, I warned you that I might run over. So
that's okay.
Let's just do that for 5 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe if yeah, go on.
Okay, so thank you for that. That's a really good question, because immediately it means that you are aware enough to say, I want to learn more. So you may need
that's somebody help. Taking action.
Yes, exactly. So you may need, because you're already keen and you're very open to knowing and growing. So you may have to get someone who can walk along with you, who can help you hold up mirrors to you, and who can help you develop the right kind of naming and the language that will help you to then say, okay, this is what I know about myself, and this is what I may be able to do, which means you might need a life coach, or you might need to participate in personal development programs and workshops that focus on this. It's not something that you just do, but just really quickly on your own. I will give you one quick exercise. When you go back, get a piece of paper and a pen and write down everything you know about yourself, everything you've heard about yourself, and then start to look at, are they true or false? And you'll be amazed at what you will find.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Sister Nima, just one, I'll allow you to ask your question quickly, and that will be it for today. We won't be able to take any more questions. So, Sister Nima.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. First, I want to appreciate the organizers of the program and, of course, the guest for today. The only thing I want to say about self-awareness is that I think a lot of times as women, we underestimate ourselves in terms of what we're able to do and what the actual power of being a woman is. So I think self-awareness is for us to actually think and give ourselves the permission to say, yes, I am rather amazing. And, you know, there's a lot Allah has infused in us just by being women. And by being Muslim women, we already have those tools there in our deen that help us to think and reflect and be honest with ourselves, even if with nobody else. And knowing that at the end of the day, we don't owe anybody anything other than Allah. We're accountable only to Allah, and therefore to be able to allow ourselves to see the good things we're able to do, the good things we have in ourselves, as well as things we need to improve, and then keep working on those with the help of Allah to get to where we want to be in terms of pleasing Allah. So that's just what I wanted to chip in about self-awareness, that we might be rather surprised that we're already doing a lot of it, but it's able to acknowledge in ourselves that, oh yeah, yes, I'm doing that, or I can do that, and to be able to allow ourselves to feel good about ourselves, and to know that whatever we're doing to build ourselves up is for Allah and for nobody else, and that really frees us up. So
wow, thank you.
Makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much. So there is a takeaway action for all of us today. As you're part of us today, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or you are in-house here with us on this Zoom session, when you leave this place, an action you need to take is pick that pen and paper, write all the things you know about yourself, write all those things that you're already doing, and then discover who you are. And just like what my sister said, and that's where I'm going to end this session today, don't just learn about it. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, just a few seconds, because I loved what Nima just said, which mashallah tabarakallah, there's a lot to unpack from there. And so what I just wanted to add is that when you're doing this, know that the intention with which you're doing it is not out of conceit, because that's another barrier, usually a block for people. It's not out of conceit, it's not out of arrogance. Actually, you knowing the gift that Allah has given you in order to know how to use it and to achieve ihsan. To achieve ihsan, and that becomes a form of worship.
That's, I don't know what else to add more. Just do it. Do. Act. Take action. Do what we have asked you to do. And when you've learned, don't just learn about it. Actually do something about it. And that is where we're going to end the show today. But before we go, Sister Sumaya, kindly put your email address on the chat so that people can contact you if they want to have any further discussion with you.
Okay.
I'll just allow you to do that.
That's it.
Done?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. And please contact her. And it's Sumaya, I can't remember it, but if you just say it so that people can also.
Okay, so that's Sumaya Sadiq at yahoo.com. The Sumaya is double M.
Sumaya Sadiq at
yahoo.com.
Okay, at yahoo.com. So please, if you want to have any further question, but remember, do. And that's where we're going to end this show today. Until next week, when we're going to have another amazing woman, sharing their experience and inspiring us, and women that are taking action. Be with us next week and do what we have asked you to do.